We are 3:29. We have everyone in the meeting and we'll be ready to go at 3:30.
Recording in progress.
Not quite ready yet. Wait for recording. That's how I started.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, according to the corporate officer's computer, it is now 3:30, so we'll start the regional board meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody to sunny Gillies Bay on Texas Island for our traditional board on the road meeting. And I'd like to acknowledge that we're holding the meeting on the traditional territory of the Waterworks Nation. We have an agenda in front of us, and we have one minor adjustments to the agenda.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Chair. Just 12.1, I was going to strike out the wording that's in the parentheses at the end of the resolution. That was just for descriptions.
Okay, so it's not really necessary to the resolution. Seeing no other changes to the agenda, can I get approval on the agenda? Dr. Powell, Dr. Gisborne, thank you very much. All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the minutes of the August 7th regular board meeting. Do we have any errors or omissions? I said minutes, and if none, you get somebody to move adoption of minutes. Director McCormick, Director Lennox, thank you very much. All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. As far as I know, we have no delegations or inquiries. Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. No registered delegations, and nobody has indicated they wish to appear as unregistered.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. No unfinished business, no correspondence. Good enough. Moving on to the chair's report. It's going to be a pretty quick one. I actually mentioned this on my chair's report from last month, but it had not happened yet. So on July 25th, I attended a meeting online with a consultant from hired by the Ministry of Transportation concerning the possibility of adding pedestrian bridges to Lang Creek Bridge down in Area C. I thought the meeting went really well, and I'm very interested to hear if nobody decides to go ahead with it, or even if the structure can hold up or support pedestrian bridges. So we'll find out in the future, hopefully. I saw it as a positive sign that they at least hired a consultant to do something about it and look at it. August 21st, I attended a transit forum at the library organized by Catholic Community Voices. There were also a few representatives from City Council there. They had two guest speakers from the Center for Equity and Public Transit BC-wide. And then the representatives from the local governments all added our 2 cents to the discussion as well. We were basically able to provide insights into the challenges that face public transportation in Catholic, especially when it comes to establishing a route from Catholic all the way down to Horseshoe Bay. We all know that we got a couple of ferries in there and it makes things tricky. We would love to see something move here, so casting it out to a wider audience, to the community. If anybody can come up with an idea, that'd be fantastic. Being August, there are no meetings of the library trustees or the Stillwater Community Advisory Group, but I do want to mention that in Area C, Lang Bay Hall is starting up a lot of their programs in September, including yoga, their 46th year of cribbage. They have their annual cribbage tournament, and Lang Bay Friends is happening amongst other activities. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, for those listening or watching online, that it's the 43rd annual Sunshine Music Festival happening this weekend at Palm Beach Park in Area C. I've been involved with the festival for decades, and it's a great tradition amongst local families. So I'd encourage you to go to sunshinemusicfest.ca for more information and while you're there, take time to register to volunteer. It's a lot of fun. So that's all I have. I'm gonna go over here to Director McCormick. We're on Texada, so might as well start with Texada.
Absolutely, and it's great to be here for this meeting. So the last week of July was the Texada Aerospace Camp. This is a camp basically teaching kids the basics of aviation, and they have a flight simulator and called an Airbus, and they can go up and practice, actual flying and thing. And it's really exciting. It was sold out this year. I was there at the end to present, graduation certificates and thank people and congratulate the kids. So there's a lot of interest already getting registrations for next year. So it's a great thing. It brings in kids and families from all over, and many of them camp at the park while the aerospace camp is going on. So it's good for us too. On August the 1st, I attended a brief working group meeting in Vancouver Coastal Health with Director Gifford and Ms. Jones, and that was to explore terms of reference for this working group. On the 3rd and 4th of August was our Roots and Blues Festival, annual 2-day music fest at the Gillies Bay Ball Field. Very well attended, a lot of fun. The 4th and 5th was the annual library book sale, so able to pick up some great books, which I usually donate back and buy them again the next year. On the 15th, I attended virtually the quarterly climate action session put on by BC Municipal Climate Leadership Council, and it was a dialogue with the Honourable Nathan Cullen, who is the Minister of Indigenous Water, Land and Resource Stewardship. And there was a presentation by the UC Watershed Security Coalition, and I was able to raise a question about the encroachment of mining activities within watersheds, and so that certainly brought that onto the radar screen. On the 17th, I attended a celebration of life for a longtime church minister, Karen May, who had a huge influence both environmentally and spiritually. So it was a very moving tribute. And then on the 18th, last weekend, was our Run the Rock annual Texada Marathon. And my husband and I did our usual aid station in the gravel pit, aid station number 4. And it was great. It was very well attended, probably the highest turnout they've ever had. I can't give you the exact numbers because I don't know them. But it was very well attended. And fortunately, it was not too odd a day. It was really perfect. So that's my report, Chair.
I was gonna say, I have some friends that did the Run the Rock, and yeah, the weather was fantastic.
Yeah.
For it was just a little bit gray and cool,
Yeah.
and
Perfect day.
it was, yeah, for running. Director Bell.
Well, for me, I've had a quiet summer. Taking August almost off, and there haven't been a lot of real public events other than all the social events that go along. The amazing things we're lucky to have access to in this region, from north to south, Sulphur Bay all the way up the line. We've been covering all that area. So just enjoying the trips and talking to everybody about what's going on. Getting ready for the busy season that's going to start happening to us on Monday when all the kids are back at school and everybody wants to get back down to business. You can see from the agenda, there hasn't been a lot happening in the regional district over August, but it's going to get a lot busier, I think, in the coming weeks. I'll keep my report short.
But you get to extend your vacation a little bit longer because Monday is a holiday, so Tuesday.
Got a free day.
Yeah, there you do. Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. I'd first like to thank our Texada hosts and staff and everyone who made this on the road possible. I think it's great. It's nice to see things here. And I'd also like to thank Rob Thompson, the water taxi operator, who was able to get me out here through the giant waves yesterday. And he grew up on Texada, so he's got a connection. It was very safe on that Zodiac, but it was kind of exciting. Early August, there was the Ski Island Volunteer Firefighters hold their annual firefighters picnic with music. You get about 300 or 400 people show up. It's one of the biggest events of the year. They raise money for the department. It's always good fun. Middle of August, I attended part of the session with Minister Cullen that Director McCormick talked about. Mostly not so many formal things this summer, but the last few months or last several months, there's been some community forums that have been organized by a young person on Muskegon, which is great, talking about different topics, housing, wildfires, just trying to, whatever people want to talk about. And there's been a housing group that have formed, kind of a stewardship group. So we had a topic on civil discourse. That was one of the topics that came up. So it's nice to see someone try to support someone who's taking initiative and trying to organize things. Next weekend or this weekend coming up is the Lasqueti Island, the Lasqueti Islands Got Talent show. So you know, if anyone want to go down there and show, well, you probably can't go in if you're not from Lasqueti, but you can watch, see how talented Lasquetians are on different things, and I'm sure that would be very fun. There's been otherwise lots of discussion on different topics about active transportation corridors, and you know, I talked about our discussions with data and you know the challenges, and also the Lund to Salisbury Bay one. So it's kind of eye-opening for people, but getting starting with planning things and what role the QRD or the Islands Trust may or may not have in terms of helping out. The roads and ferry are calm at present. The roads are graded, and the rain helped keep dust down, and the ferry is calm. So apparently everything's good now. We don't need any changes to the roads. Everything's fine. We'll see when everything's good. So no one wants to pave anymore. Like for a while, some wanted to pave the roads or more. It's all fine. Everything's calm. The ferry's actually been running with a full complement of crew, so it's been actually really great on the serious side. And there's been discussions about Spring Bay Regional Park, our new park, with some of the neighbors, and generally people are very happy. Mostly they'll continue using it as they always used it. But is there a sign or not? That's the only real question. Is there going to be a sign? Some want the sign, some don't. I don't know. We'll see. The neighbors seem to want a sign. And about the helipad. So it seems like, and I brought this up, the school has a plan. The school district has a plan to rebuild the school there, and that's where on the field where the helicopter goes. It seems like enough people from the island have communicated with the trustees that there seems to be a pause. I have to try to reach out to them, but they seem to have pushed the pause button on it while they try to figure it out. They don't want to cause harm, but nor is it their responsibility to incur costs through the school district to make sure we have a helicopter pad. So I think they're just rethinking things a bit, and at least considering it. So it's not just pushing forward. So we'll see more to come on that, but we'll find out whether that means plans change or whether it's just a pause to help give us some time to figure out whether we can do anything about it, or BC Ambulance or something. So anyways, people are discussing these things, and otherwise everything's good on Lasqueti.
Great, thanks very much. Thanks for mentioning the fantastic hospitality that we've been shown on Texada. We didn't come up here and just do 2 meetings. We also were able to go to Shelter Point to see the new gathering space that's been constructed there, the museum. We went to the library, the community hall, and the airport. So we packed a lot of stuff in a very short period of time, which is nice to see. Director Gisborne.
Well, thank you. As Director McCormick pointed out, we had the Cadet Regional Hospital District Working Group meeting with VCH. I covered that in my chair's report. We had our hospital district meeting on the 7th. Not a lot to report, as I've just been extremely busy on the farm, and some days I don't even know which day it is. On the 11th, I helped co-host a celebration of life for Stan Gisborne, who, as many of you know, is the regional director for the regional district for 10 terms. And it was very wonderful to see a lot of community members showing up and telling stories about some of the wild things that that individual got involved in. And also just to let folks know that in Area B, coming up, oh wait, I got the wrong thing. The Fall Fair is happening on September the 14th and 15th at our wonderful Paradise Exhibition Park. And I know it might be a little tough for us because we're flying out to UBCM essentially that Sunday. So I plan to show up maybe on the Saturday, but then Sunday I'll have to leave early. And for the folks that keep calling me, I am not the coordinator this year. So it's not your fault. It's not my fault. And that is the main part of my director's report.
Yeah, I hadn't realized it was the same weekend as the UBCM, but obviously coming on Saturday. Yeah, of course. Director Lennox.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to Director McCormick for hospitality guidance, and our staff also, took a couple wrong turns that we got there, and the Texadans for your hospitality too. I did a few things. It's always, August was busy again. Physical tour of the proposed mosaic harvesting in Area 8 out in Oakover. And I appreciated the effort to actually get on the ground and see what it's going to look like, feel like, and be able to explain to people that are contacting me what I know and who to contact for the accurate information. So I did that.
The next day, I think it was, I attended the Oakover Ratepayers Association meeting. Again, that group hasn't met for a while, so there's a bunch of newer folks involved as ratepayers down in Oakover, and a lot of common themes, but I came away feeling energized for them. I think there's some things down there, emergency preparation. We've seen some of your supplies here. I think some of our areas still need that help, and you know, a whole bunch of things that correlate to the rest of our regions, but some that are specific to the region. So that was great. Look forward to talking with them again. August 11th, I think that was the day after that, I was able to go to your father's celebration, and it was well attended. And you know, just these pioneers that built our communities, right? And the folks that are telling these stories, some cool stories and some funny stuff too. So I appreciated that. August 26th was the first of two Savory Island official community plan public meetings, engagement. And the first one was they were both at Pascal's Hacienda, it's called. It's a nice bigger building there on Savory. And we had the place to ourselves the first day. It was well attended. And I think like thanks to our staff again and the consultants who were involved. They were very prepared, had lots of good materials. And took feedback obviously from Islanders about what's important to them. It's been since 2007 for their OCP, so times have changed, so that would be great. We were able to include the groundwater study consultant, which is relevant to the OCP, but also the groundwater concerns are at the very top for Islanders, and so that was great to have them there. It was a pretty rainy, stormy day. I do look forward to working with these people. There's a lot of energy and a lot of good stuff there. Just a reminder, sort of Highway 101, yeah, we're getting it paved, but it's not done yet. There's at least a month left to go, and just take care of the folks out there. Drivers, just trying to remind them to like take it easy. We've got workers on the road, people, you know, at risk, and your vehicles. Take it easy on your vehicles. If you hit some of those bumps, the highway is not ready, and you'll pay for it. And I was able to enjoy myself, and unfortunately, a couple of funerals, but some weddings and some good times too, and family and fishing. So, love in Area A.
Great. Like, so many of us have had a relatively easy August. You seem to have had a pretty busy one.
That was good.
Yeah, sure, it's still fun.
Thank you, Chair. I was away on personal vacation for quite a lot of August, but I was around on August 12th, and I attended a housing roundtable meeting, and we had planner Danielle Ferguson from the city come to that roundtable to talk about the Barnett site expression of interest that was going to be coming out, and she did get a lot of feedback from the roundtables before they put that out, and it is currently out right now. So organizations who are interested in building housing at the Barnett site can go to our website and get the information for the request for expressions of interest for that from nonprofits. So that was a good roundtable discussion because we were able to provide input from all of the roundtable folks into a project that's relevant right now, and that made us all feel pretty good. The next roundtable meeting is on September 9th, which also happens to be Councillor Trina Anderson's birthday, so I don't know, I might bring a cake. And I don't have much else to report. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I hope you had a fun time on vacation.
I sure did.
Yeah. Looking here.
Yeah.
Okay, we've reached the end of the director's reports. We're on to the consent agenda. It's an opportunity for anybody to pull anything out of the consent agenda. There are all 2 items. Seeing no hands, would somebody like to move the consent agenda? Director Lennox, Director Gisborne, all in favor? Any opposed? Not opposed. Motion carries. Resolutions. 12.1 financial assistance for shoreline cleanup events. We have a recommendation here. Thank you, Director McCormick, Director Lennox. Any discussion? Director Gisborne?
Yes, one of the reasons why this isn't on the consent agenda was there was a dissenting vote. I believe I was the one. In our staff report, there are multiple options. One of the options in there is that rather than having the funding allocated of $10,000 through our solid waste management service, we could choose to actually do these things through grant and aid. And I think that is the more appropriate channel to take. And one of the things that came up in a previous meeting was, if we do this on a one-off with grants, then there might be some concern that folks might not get the funding, next year. But I believe that we can do, as we have done, multi-year funding agreements. So I think that is the better way to go, because you also got to keep in mind that our board, we do have turnover, we do have new people, and this will become essentially $10,000 in the budget. And moving forward, directors might not know what that $10,000 is for. And I would actually like to see this going into our essentially grant and aid when we're helping out these organizations, because some years there might be a lot of coastal cleanup, there might be very little coastal cleanup, but also I think this needs to stay at the forefront of the directors' minds, because I very strongly feel that a lot of the plastics that we're cleaning up on our shores is the responsibility of the federal government, and that we really do need to be pressing the federal government that, why is our local taxpayers paying for, all this plastic that is coming from the federal government's jurisdictions, which is the ocean. So that's why I actually am opposed to this motion, but I'm not opposed to the intent of the motion, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other comments on this before we vote? Seeing no hands, all in favor? Any opposed? One opposed? Motion carries. 13, expression of interest, 13.1, expression of interest to nominate a board member to the Recycling BC Advisory Committee. Director McCormick.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Director Paul.
Director Paul, would you accept the nomination? Accept that. Okay. Do we have any other, nominations for the position, or? So we have Director Paul's name in it. Does that count as making the motion?
Well, we could have Director McCormick have moved that.
And then,
So
then.
Yeah, with Director Paul.
And I'll second. Okay, Director Lennox second it. Thank you. Is there discussion or, yeah, okay, Director Paul?
I'll just mention that, of course, we're all busy and I'm busy too, but these meetings are 4 times a year, so it's not a huge task, but I think it's a really important one. We have our own issues locally about ICI and transport, and the staff report made that kind of clear, and we've talked about it a lot, about the importance to our regional district. But I think there's a broader importance too of this advisory committee providing input for Recycle BC, especially for remote and isolated communities. And you don't get much more remote and isolated than just TV. We talk about moving these, not just ICI, but industrial and commercial waste, but they're recycling, but all recycling. And you start moving it around big distances, and how do we streamline that, and how do we make sure it all gets put in? There's a lot of improvements. BC's got a good system, but I think it could be improved. So I'm happy to do it, and plus, they're mostly going to be virtual, so that actually helps me, given that it's more difficult to move around from ski. So I'm happy to do it, and I think it's really important for us to have representation.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for accepting it. Director Gisborne?
Yes, I support the motion. If Director Paul and the board wishes for Director Paul to be the appointee, I think that's fine. However, we do have a solid waste management plan advisory committee, and I do believe we have a member of our board that is appointed to that committee. And I'm just thinking, for consistency, it might be helpful to have the same individual that is on that solid waste management plan advisory committee also being the person that is, handling this item in relation to Recycle BC, because it can result in issues where one hand doesn't necessarily know what the other hand is doing. However, I'm sure the directors can communicate with each other about what's going on.
Think so, hope so. Director Elliott?
I just want to respond since I am that member.
Thanks, I couldn't remember.
I am super happy to have Director Paul do this one. I am a little bit loaded up with appointments already. I like the idea that the two of us should just talk and he can do it. Because I do have a ton of things on my plate already, and so I really appreciate Doctor. You are Dr. Paul, but I'm getting off Director Dr. Paul taking on this particular task. I appreciate it.
Okay, great.
Can I just add, I'm sorry, Director Douglas.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put a note of caution into this. I read through, I think once, maybe twice, all of the background information on this. And it does begin with a description of very limited participation by the advisory committee members. But it also has a number of places where the advisory committee can do mediation between parties that have disputes and do conflict resolution. And it also has opportunities for the commission or for the whole committee to appoint advisory committee members to do investigations. And when you start doing investigations of cardboard recycling around the province, that could end up taking more than 3 or 4 hours a year.
Another reason why this is such a good idea.
I want to suggest some caution in the fact that this could be a bigger job than people think.
I guess we'll find out.
And talk about some trepidation that but I just wanted to point out that I am actually on the Ski Island Solid Waste Management Plan Advisory Monitoring and Advisory Committee, whatever the full name is, but so I am Liquid Mac, I don't know how, but anyways, there is another advisory committee there for solid waste management that I'm on, that's for ski, so there is a connection, and communication lines can be kept open. And hopefully there won't be too much conflict, but recycling can be a conflict, so.
I'm convinced.
Okay, well, let's move on to the vote.
One comment.
Okay, Dr. Elliott?
I just,
Yeah, Doctor,
I'm not.
confused now.
So I wanted to just point out that we as a board are going to be trying to meet with staff about a recycling issue at UBCM. And hopefully the same issue around collecting the recycling from the businesses and so forth could be brought to the advisory committee as well. I'm not my first hand off of the partnership with them.
The first one.
Okay, then seeing no other hands, let's vote on this. All in favor? Not opposed, motion carries. Great. Moving on to 13.2, Lund Waterworks District Game Grant Funding Opportunity.
And so I'll move this motion.
Thank you, Director Lennox, seconded by Director McCormick. Do we have any discussion, Director Lennox?
Well, I think there's some urgency in the report to take some action, some timelines. So maybe one of the questions for the acting CEO.
What was, yes,
Sorry.
sorry, there is
Yeah.
urgency with regards to the timeline. That's why we're seeing it at 4th level.
Thanks. Thankfully, this is a very succinct 2-page report, and really the end sentence is true. As one of the people that lives on with this situation, the grant, any reduction administrative costs and planning and all the things that the BC government has sort of failed us on up to this point takes away from the infrastructure that we need. So if we have an opportunity, I would like to support any opportunity to help our staff and any other people involved.
Yeah, just recalling some previous grants in the past, and sometimes you get a grant application and then later on there's another intake of grant applications, and if you apply for the larger one, they say, well, you already got the earlier smaller one, and I'm just wondering, is there a risk of potentially missing out on a future grant that might be larger?
I certainly didn't get that impression from anything, but corporate officer, do you have any other information or?
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have any other information. I don't perceive this being preventative for us applying for future grants.
Okay. So seeing no other questions, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Not opposed, motion carries. Moving on to bylaws, 14.1. Board procedure amendment bylaw number 557.2, 2024. This is largely just to deal with, well, it is just to deal with the address change of our board. So, right?
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Chair. That's the only change that is being proposed here.
So if I can get somebody to read that. Anybody? Director Elliott?
I move that the board approve the board procedure bylaw 557/2020 be amended to change the regional district boardroom location to unit 201-4675 Marine Avenue, effective September 4th, 2024.
Seconded by Director Paul. Any discussion? Director Gisborne?
I'm a little confused procedurally on this item. My understanding of how the procedure bylaw is to be changed is that the board would give first and second reading, and then it would go up for public notice to inform the public. And then after the public notice has been done, then we would do third reading and adoption. But the staff report says that the public notice has already occurred. And I guess that's kind of where I'm confused, like why this is first, second, third, and adoption all on the same day.
Sorry, I think you don't believe we can adopt the procedure bylaw all in one day?
Well, I just read the article from the city chambers, and the deputy corporate officer, Jessica Laporte, said the bylaw adoption process will go to a meeting for first and second reading, and at that time, public notice is put out in the newspaper and in all cities' resources, such as social media and the website. She said after a 2-week period, the bylaw would come to council for third reading, and at that point, council can still make changes to the bylaw. Once the bylaws where council wants it to be, they can give it third reading and finally adopt it. So that's why I'm a little confused.
Thank you, Chair. I think you're reading with regards to the city's legislation, and regional districts do have the ability to give first, second, third, and fourth reading all in one day.
Okay, because my understanding was that it's the same legislation in the community charter. That's my first question. My second question is, part of the public notice, my understanding is that it's supposed to go into 2 consecutive numbered issues of a local newspaper. And I couldn't seem to find it in my copy of the numbered newspaper.
Thank you. If I can ask through the chair or Shelley Tremonde to explain how public notice was addressed in this instance this year.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, if I may. So to meet legislative statutory requirements with regards to public notice, we did meet our requirements as per section 94(2), which states that if we included it in the Parksville Qualicum Beach newspaper as well, we would still meet our requirements. Unfortunately, the timelines were a bit too tight to get into just the peak, but we still have met our public notice requirements by including it in the Parksville Qualicum Beach News, which covers our notice requirements for Lasqueti Island.
Thank you very much.
So what that means then is we didn't put it in a numbered newspaper locally, but we did put it in Parksville numbered newspaper. That is what meets the requirements for 2 consecutive numbered newspapers. I just find that a little odd.
I believe that we put it in Powell River and in Parksville Qualicum.
Okay, I'm just wondering which date of the numbered newspaper, because I never found it. I have a subscription, so.
Yes, I'm sorry, thank you. I'll go through to Shelley Tremonde for that.
Sure. Mr. Runde?
My apologies. Yes, just pulling up the paper myself.
Okay. In the meantime, I've got a comment from Director Doubt, which will allow you time to find the information.
I want to go back to something Director Gisborne was talking about, and we've got 1, 2, 3, I think 4 different motions about this today. And they are all recommendations to the board. Thinking because of the urgency will take place on September 4th. And I see that the idea is that we will change the address effective September 4th. The number 2 then is a recommendation to the board that we give first and second reading to the bylaw. And the third one is that we give third reading to the bylaw. And the fourth one is that we adopt the bylaw. Now, if we're going to put this into place by September 4th, I think it's logical that we would have to adopt the bylaw by September 4th. And logic to me says that means we'd be doing the first, second, third reading and adoption all at the same board meeting. I don't see any other choices in doing it. I'd like to know how this is going to work out at the end. Are we going to actually adopt the bylaw on September 4th to be effective September 4th? Or are we going to adopted at the end of September.
Sorry, I think the intention was to adopt the bylaw today, and then, the new boardroom location is, our next meeting would be September 4th. So we just wanted to make sure that it was clear that that's when we would be meeting in the new boardroom, that the intention was to adopt the bylaw today, Chair.
So we'd be doing the first, second, third reading and adoption all at the same meeting.
Which is, thank you, which is permitted under the Local Government Act for regional districts.
Great. Do we have a response from Mr. Lund?
Sorry, I think she's just.
Yes, I have that information I made through the chair. So we ran it in the August 22nd edition of the Powell River Peak, and we also ran it in the August 22nd. My apologies. So it was in the August 21st and 22nd of the Peak, and then the 21st and the 28th of the Parksville Qualicum Beach newspaper.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments? Proceed. Dr. Gisborne?
Now I'm even more confused because I think the 21st and 22nd are not actually the same publication. And the legislation says they have to be consecutive. And I'm recalling this issue came up, I believe, in 2021 in relation to public notices. And they came back, I think we had a legal opinion that came back and said they got to be 2 consecutive numbered issues. So to have it in like essentially the midweek and then the other publication doesn't actually count. They got to be in like the 2 numbered issues or maybe even the 2 flyer issues. So I'm fine with the change, but I have a real concern about the process.
I mean, I think right now we're getting bogged down in the details. The reality of it is we're just trying to establish that we have a new address for our boardroom. And I think staff has done their best to get the information out to the public. So I think it would behoove us to move on from here. Director Elliott?
Thank you. So there is a slight chance that the exact letter of the word might not have been followed for the publication of this particular bylaw change. The change is very, very minor and a low risk change. It's highly unlikely that we would be challenged on changing from the first floor to the second floor for our meeting locations, particularly if we put notices on the door of the first floor as well for the meeting date. So I am comfortable risk managing that potential risk on this particular page.
Corporate officer.
Thank you, Jerry. I would like to reiterate, we have already placed public notices in many different locations indicating our new location change, and that they'll be there on September 4th as well.
Great, thank you very much. Seeing no other hand, I'd like to call it, oh, well, no, where are we at? Yeah, we have the mover and we have a seconder, so we'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Clerk Elliott?
I move that the board give first and second reading to board procedure amendment bylaw number 557.2, 2024.
Thank you, seconded by Dr. McCormick. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Clerk Elliott?
I move that the board give third reading to board procedure amendment bylaw number 557.2, 2024.
Seconded by Dr. McCormick. Any discussion? Dr. Gisborne?
Yes. Regional board meeting, March 25th, 2021. Quote, legal counsel confirmed that 2 consecutive issues means issues with consecutive numbers of the same paper. Since the midweek peak and the Powell River peak are not numbered consecutively, and they're referring to at the time, the Wednesday and the Friday paper are not numbered consecutively, notices of public hearing should be advertised in either 2 consecutive issues of the midweek or 2 consecutive issues of the Powell River peak. This is in relation to a public hearing, but it does follow the same piece of legislation under public notice. I'm fine with doing first and second reading as I think is the proper procedure, where the board gives direction to say, hey, we actually want to change these documents, and then staff go out to do the advertising. I think what's happened here is maybe the cart's gone in front of the horse. Yes, we do want to get into our new meeting room, but also like to remind the assembly that the regional hospital district, we passed a motion to change our board procedure bylaw. And it would have been nice if we could have had a conversation around the table about what those other changes are, so that we don't have to spend money again in a couple of months potentially to change the board procedure bylaw again with more advertising and going through the same process. I suspect we're going to be doing this again, probably by the end of the year, hopefully. But I just want to make sure that we do a good, clean process, and that's where I'm having a bit of an issue.
Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Chair. I do believe that legislation has changed since then. So under 94.1, if publication under subsection 1 is not practical, the notice may be given in the areas by alternative means, so long as the notice is given within the same period as required for the newspaper publication, is given with the same frequencies as required for newspaper publication, and provides notice that the council considers reasonably equivalent to that would be provided by a newspaper publication. So in this instance, we've hit 3 publications as well as local community newspapers, our website, and social media, I believe. So if it's not a comfort, then we can, of course, move it forward and rely on staff issued notices. But we would need to change the location. It would likely occur before we would do a fulsome review of the whole procedure bylaw, because that process takes months, and the community charter does specify that we should provide for the location that we are going to regularly meet in a procedure bylaw. So that's why this is more urgent than the fulsome review.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
and I completely agree. But my understanding of the hospital district's proposed change was a simple word about the election of a vice chair. I don't believe that the intention was a full comprehensive review. Also, this is something that we've known has been coming down the pipe for some time, and I think that first and second reading should have occurred, months ago, and then we do the public notice, because I'm having issues with it not being in 2 consecutive issues of the same paper, which is, as I understand, supposed to be.
Okay. Which one was first? I said both hands up.
Director Fulton.
Director Paul.
I had his hand up before I did.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I'm comfortable that staff have done due diligence. And if you look at 94.1(2), subsection 2, it says if the obligation under subsection 1 may be met by publication of the notice in more than one newspaper, if this is in accordance with that subsection when the publications are considered together. So when you look at the dates of those, 21st, 28th, that's not met. So it's not a matter that it has to be in the same one exactly. It's met collectively, but in more than one newspaper. So it has been met, and there will be more notices. So the public will be informed, it'll be fine, and it also meets the letter of the law.
Thank you very much, Director Dow.
Yeah, so the precise location of where the regional district's meetings are going to be is not a small detail. It's a central part of democracy, is making sure that anybody who wants to attend would know exactly where the meeting is going to be, when it's going to start, and what the meeting is going to be about. So it's not a small issue, it's a major issue. I would have liked to have seen this done maybe a few months earlier. We could have done this at a different time, but we're doing it now. The detail, I think there's a detail about which newspapers and when the notice is published. But the fact is that the new boardroom is not very far away from the old boardroom. It's not in a different building or a different area of town or a different municipality. It's in the same building, gone from one floor up another floor. And I think it gives us an opportunity to do is put plenty of signage on the building with direction for people that might not have seen any of the notices about how they can get from where the meeting used to be to where the meetings are going to be now. I think as long as we get that signage, we'll probably be able to meet any challenges that show up. And having said that, I know this has caused these challenges because I've been paying attention to some different municipalities around the province. And there was one I know of where they had a meeting in a different building and no notice was published anywhere about where it was going to be. And it engaged considerable controversy. But I think what we're doing today and with signage notices around the building on September 4th, we'll be doing everything we can do to let people say again, it's not a small point in my mind. It's a major point, and then where we have our meetings and then everybody knows about where they are.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other hands, call the question, all in favor? Any opposed? One opposed, motion carries. And
I move that the board adopt board procedure amendment bylaw number 557.2, 2024.
second by Director McCormick, thank you. Discussion, Dr. Elliott.
Thank you. I just thought I would make sure the public understands that our next meeting will be located at our regional board office, which is the same place address-wise as it's always been, but the boardroom will have been moved up to room 201 upstairs. And so you can get there by the elevator or the stairs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so the adoption of this bylaw moves the regular location for all of our board meetings to the new boardroom, which we are all very excited to have. I also had a bit of a comment around it would have indeed be a good thing to have advertised the other change we wanted to make around whether we have a rotating or whatever for the hospital board at the same time, but it hasn't been done. The advertising has already been done, and we really do want to meet in our new boardroom. So I'm comfortable with adopting this bylaw today.
Okay.
And just clarification, the staff said that it's in the August the 22nd newspaper. Is that correct? They said 21st and 22nd.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to call on Shelley.
Okay. Mr. Lyndsey.
Yes, good afternoon through the chair. We have booked the ad for the August 21st edition, which is distributed on the 22nd, along with both papers are distributed on the Thursday. Then we also published in the Parksville Qualicum Beach News in the issues of Wednesday, August 21st, and Wednesday following in the same issue consecutively on the 28th of August.
So my response then is those newspapers are flyers. You cannot get subscriptions to those papers, and they are not numbered newspapers. And I hate to repeat myself, but this came up in 2021. These should be in consecutively numbered papers, because as was discussed many years ago, those numbered papers are submitted down to Victoria for record keeping. And I don't get the flyer in my area. That's why I pay for a numbered newspaper. And it would be nice if I knew about this proposed board procedure bylaw change, in the newspaper, or that we pass it through the board first and second reading, and then it goes to the newspaper, because I have a real issue with the process that we're following. I agree that yes, we've got the new boardroom. It's a very minor change, but I am a bit of a stickler for the process, and I know I'm going to get outvoted, but that's okay. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, seeing no other hands, call the question, all in favor? Any opposed? One opposed. Motion carries. New business, item 15.1, 2024 UBCM Convention Ministries, Agencies, Commissions, and Corporations, Staff Meetings. Recommendation, Corporate Officer, you have a comment?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to advise that we were, all of the meetings that we requested with ministers were declined. Staff meetings were on a deadline, I believe the 23rd. So staff went ahead and booked the meetings, but if it is not desired by the board to go with those ministry staff meetings, you just, no action is necessary. We can just retract those meetings.
Thanks very much. Would anybody like to give the recommendation?
The recommendation of the time.
Thank you. Deputy McCormick, any discussion? None, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Just to clarify what you meant.
Really? Yep.
Thank you. Follow-up question to what the information. The folks on the list, we did make requests for meeting and they did commend that request, and so we are just retracting our request to have them, is that what you need?
Go ahead.
Thank you. The board provided direction to book UBCM minister meetings, and the minister meetings were declined.
Oh,
So we are
now
going to
it's
that.
Set.
Okay, thank you, now I understand.
Okay, we've reached the question period. Is there any questions? I don't know if Mr. Lyndsey is online or if there's anybody in the audience that has questions. Seeing none, we will go to the in-camera session. Would somebody like to read that motion?
Thank you, Bill, for that. I move that the board move in camera and the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relates to the matters covered under by the community charter under section 91K negotiations and related discussions with that respecting the proposed provision of a regional district service that are at the preliminary stages of that in the view of the board could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the regional district if they were held in public, and end the consideration of whether a board meeting should be closed under provision of this subsection or subsection 2.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Bunitz. Any discussion? None, all in favor? None opposed, motion carried. We're going in camera. Thank you very much for those of you who chose to attend today's meeting.
And in camera means we're close to the public. Sorry.
So much for your.
Thanks, you guys.
Coming.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah, get it hard, you have to get them up.
if I may, it looks like there.
much.